Thanks so much. And here we've got that customer, Mr. Cody Lopez. How are you doing today, man?
Spectacular. How about yourself?
Oh, fantastic. I wouldn't want to be any other place right now. Learning a lot about event logistics as we go along, though. So thank you for your participation today. And why is Cody here? We wanted to hear it, from an admin on the front lines. We've had sessions today about what is an admin, how do you keep up, all the tooling, all the knowledge, and you've had an interesting journey. So I thought you had some good, challenges and successes to share that
Sure.
people could learn from. And we'll start with, you know, share us a little bit about your journey, let's say in the past 5 years or so, as it relates to, your growth with HubSpot.
Yeah, I before the company that I work for now, I was in the nonprofit sector. Had Wouldn't have been able to tell you what HubSpot was. Had never heard of it. When I started at the company I'm at now, we're in the ed tech space, working with school districts. And I came on as a salesperson, and HubSpot followed me joining the company by about a month. And so very quickly, I think we were paying for it was probably Sales Hub starter. I think we pretty quickly jumped up to pro, but that was it. And so I kind of threw myself. I'd never done sales before either. So I really had no business being in that role, I don't think, but kind of threw myself into the technology of it. I mean, I think having a platform to manage all the details that I'd never had to understand how to manage and leverage before was a huge boon for me. And so started out just being kind of becoming our company's power user, but wasn't really involved in any of the back end setup or structural design of how we were running deals. Um, and then about a year and a half into that sales role, was promoted into a previously non-existent role of CX manager and started to kind of more unofficially but with some officialness, take on the HubSpot admin role as the person who had thrown himself into it and just been dedicated to learning how to leverage the tool to make my own job easier. And then was constantly sharing out tips and tricks with our team as the company grew to make things easier for them. And then not too long after that, moved into the director of revenue operations role at our company. Similarly, a role I had actual no business in, but was able to lean into the HubSpot Academy and ecosystem to learn a lot about what revenue operations meant and what that looked like and how to leverage HubSpot for those things as well. Um, and with that, officially became all things HubSpot fell under my domain, and that turned into some really intensive like architecture and back end automation. And I'm not someone that has any development experience either. So being able to do some of the things that I learned we were able to do, one, as my knowledge grew, but as HubSpot continued to innovate and we continued to be able to afford and recognize need for additional hubs over time, it just it has become this thing that has consumed a lot of my professional life, and I genuinely enjoy getting to tackle problems when I know that HubSpot is the framework to help us work through them.
Yes, thank you for sharing. And just a quick housekeeping note, we'll be wrapping in 5 minutes to help keep the schedule going today. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and say, like, first of all, I know a ton of people out there that can just resonate with that journey, that you just described, not always from sales to a customer experience to director of operations or digital operations, but just I'm in a new role. I now have HubSpot. I got to learn how to use it. Now I'm in another role. This accidental admin journey that we talk about a lot. If you could, uh, you know, one or two things that maybe you found access to or at some point or learned about the way to do things that you found helpful at some point and you wish you had had earlier in the journey and you'd recommend to others who might be on the same journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing, because it's not behind any sort of paywall in terms of what your company can access, is like HubSpot Academy, and then the Sprocketeer community that comes with that, um, as well as Hugs being part of. I've been in the admin Hug now for I think about 2 years, and so between those three things, it feels like my opportunity for education's pretty limitless, and that's what led me to meeting Chris and all the work that we've done. So that those would be my immediate, those are accessible to you. Leverage them as much as you can. I think beyond that, again, seeing the speed, and then trying to keep up with the speed at which HubSpot innovates, and learning how to manage that for myself so that I understand, okay, there is this new functionality that's about to come out, or that already came out 2 weeks ago, that I'm just catching up on, that drastically changes or affects this problem that we came across 2 years ago. Now I can flip this switch, and everything that was, all these custom workarounds that we built are resolved, or that we couldn't build for, or resolved. And so I think really, really getting a vision of what HubSpot is doing, and then understanding how all of the work that especially our customer facing teams are doing, understanding how all of those things can, with the right creativity and imagination, and sometimes support from others who've been there and done that, can fit into the structure that HubSpot offers, and leverage the automation that HubSpot offers. Um, Especially when you are in a position to leverage custom objects. I mean, again, and HubSpot rolled out like 3 or 4 new objects within the last year as well. So there's just so much room, when you look at things from that pipeline stages perspective, because everything that you do at every company is a process to some extent. And then being able to detail those pipelines and those objects to fit the lanes you need them to, um, is
Yeah.
is always what I would encourage. Just be cognizant of what exists.
Yeah. And there's a couple things as we wrap that I want to highlight that you've done a masterful job of uh, as I've worked with you. And that's one, you know, and this is where if you have somebody that can help keep up, it helps to give yourself permission not to have to keep up with everything because it gets overwhelming very quickly as a user, as an admin. And it's easy to get FOMO, like as everybody's posting about the new thing, as this guy ridiculously does content every day saying there's something new you need to be using and need to be aware of. Like, give yourself permission to not have to keep up with everything. And in doing so, don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether it was you and Sprocketeer reaching out, also when you're having QuickBooks issues, like straight line to the product team at HubSpot, right? They are open and they are, there to answer questions as well. Um, and you've done a great job of that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to grow and build out this sweet implementation that you guys are working on right now. So thanks so much for joining us today, Cody. It's been great.
Yeah, yeah. My pleasure. And I agree with what you said. Found Chris because of Sprocketeer, have been able to surface a lot of solutions because of the community that HubSpot has built around it, or was built around HubSpot, I should say. So appreciate you all as well.
Thanks so much, Cody. Over to you,
Mhm.
Brian.